So I'm gonna try and solve this case for you. I seen this case for a while, and I didn't wanna jump into it because I was trying to do all the other cases, and I wanted to see how those went, and because I was pretty confident that I got something. But it seems it's not easy to convince people of anything anymore, really. I see that it's tough. It's tough to convince people. But anyway, this case I looked a little bit, and then I looked a little bit more, and so I decided to watch the whole series, just to see if I can figure it out, because I'm thinking maybe I can't figure it out. Maybe I don't really know what the heck I'm talking about. So, but I looked at it, and so for some reason I can see it. And I'm not sure if I can see it right or what. But I don't know. I don't know what to do, really. I don't know where to start with this. But what I can say is I like the fact that actually people are starting to wake up, starting to realize there's a problem in the justice system, and starting to get the concept that the way the police questions people, or their method and all that, can be questioned now. I think people think that if you're not guilty, there's nothing to hide. If you're not guilty, the cops shouldn't be looking at you, right? But that's not the case for me anymore. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in these reasonable logic to figure out a crime anymore. Even this case, there's so many people trying to figure it out themselves, right? And you would figure that someone out there would see the picture, would can figure it out. And so I went through the internet, I looked through a bunch of people, and it seems like some of them are getting on the right track, and then boom, they hear some gossip, or they hear something, and the facts and the motive just are left behind. They become consumed into the gossip, into the things that doesn't relate to the crime, to why the crime happened, right? So, and it seems like people are so close to just sticking with the facts, but for some reason they just sidetracked. They add more than they need to. If only they could just focus on the evidence and the motive. And they can just focus on that and don't analyze more than they need to. I think the smart people are analyzing it way too much. And so the focus become less clear, right? I don't know if maybe there's a certain balance you're supposed to be at to figure these things out. And it just seems like people are just not doing that, and I don't know why. I just don't know why. So, but I'm happy that people are trying to figure it out and realizing we have a problem. We have a problem in judging people, seeking the truth. We have a problem finding the truth, right? And so, let me give you an example of a story that can be similar to this story. Just imagine if you have a neighbor and you don't get along with them. Something happened, either you're too dirty or you had something over their side and they didn't like it or something. So you had a conflict, right? And one day he had kids, and one day one of his a daughter was sexually assaulted or raped, and somehow she blamed you. She pointed out it's you, right? And for some reason or another, the police decided, yeah, you're the guy, and you're sent to prison, right? And then one day DNA got you clear. It was another man. It was someone else, right? But the neighbor, he doesn't come over and say sorry. His daughter comes over and say she's sorry, but the father, the son, they don't come and say sorry. They say, you're still an asshole. They don't like you, right? And so you decide, you find out that the neighbor was manipulating the cop and doing all these things to get you in prison, right? And so, and also they knew that someone else raped their daughter, but they didn't tell the police. They didn't say anything. So you decided to sue them, right? And everyone was, for you, like helping you, and they were getting to that point where the neighbor could lose everything. Like they could lose a lot. Like they could lose their house, they could lose a lot. And likely a very high chance that you're going to win and you're going to get a lot of money from them. And just before a couple weeks or a couple months from then, it's going to happen. And out of the blue, someone calls the police saying that you are a child molester. You molest your own kid, right? And the cop arrests you. And they go and search your house. And then, instead of securing your house, the son, the neighbor's son, you had a camera, and the camera shows who's coming in, who's coming out, and the camera shows him, the son, the neighbor's son, going into your house, sitting on the computer, right? And you had a camera on in your room, and he's doing something on the computer. And then a cop comes in and he says, "Oh, what are you doing? What are you doing? Who are you?" "Oh, I'm the next door neighbor's son, and look at what I found. I found pornography here in his computer, right? In your computer." And the cop goes, "Oh, really? Oh, thanks. What's your name again? Who are you again? Oh, you're the one they're suing, right? Yeah. Anyway, see you later. There's your proof. And the police go, oh, thank you, thanks. Right? Is that suspicious to you? Does that make any logical sense to you people? Right? Some of you get it. Some of you understand. Right? Because you're mad. That's why there's a lot of people protesting for him to get a new trial and stuff, right? But yet, for some reason, you still think he's a pedophile. People still think you are a pedophile, right? Because of this. And then not only that, neighbors around you started to talk about you, saying, "Oh, you're pretty dirty. You don't clean up your yard." One time they saw you yelling at your wife and beating her, and they think they heard you, your wife and you arguing about you touching your kids, right? These are the neighbors, right? They're gossiping, they're saying stuff, right? And for some reason, that goes into the police station and to the judge and to the jury, and guess what? You're convicted. You're sent away again by the neighbor. It turns out that the neighbor calls in to report you, right? I don't know if I'm making it clear, but if that were to happen, and oh yeah, and I forgot, the neighbor, their doctor, and their son's going to be a doctor too, right? Well, geez, that changes everything. They can't be responsible. They're not gonna try and manipulate the cop to try and put you in jail. They're doctors. They're people who help people. Why would they do this? They're doctors, right? Why can't people see past all these crazy gossip, all these other distractions? Just clear them out. Just say, okay, listen, let me focus on the evidence and the motive, right? So Steven has no motive. He has everything to live for right now. He is winning. He is about to get money, $36 million, if that. But all indication is that he's gonna get it. All indication is that he has a very good chance of winning, right? And the police could be bankrupt, could lay off a lot of people, a lot of things could change, right? And do people like change that easily, especially when that person is someone they don't like, right? I mean, there's so much evidence, there's so much motive in here that is incredible that people just ignore it because they're police. Incredible. Just because they will label something higher, a higher standard to live up to a lot of people. It's like it's almost like they think the police are Jesus or something. Like they can't be these bad people. They're always good people. And then some of them will say, yeah, oh, I know some of them are bad. But no one's gonna do something this bad. Right? So that's what I'm confused about in this world, is that how could people not see this? How could people not focus on the evidence, on the reasoning, on the motive, and forget and just kind of block out all these other nonsense that doesn't relate? Oh, he kills a cat, he burns a cat, and when he was what how old? I mean, do all of you are really good people that done nothing in your life when you were a kid, that not done any stupid things in your life? Or do you people never get mad at your wife, or angry, or never fight? Or I mean, how many divorces do we have in this world? Are you telling me that they're wrong? I mean, everyone's perfect? Like, seriously, people. People are starting to hear all this gossip about him. He's a bad person. He hit his wife. All these things, and they forget what the event just happened. Like, there's the evidence. There's the motive. What the heck are you people reading so much on all these other things? And so I don't know where else to go with this. So I'm confused as to how you could not understand this. I'm confused that very smart people, judges and all the way to the top, cannot focus on the logic and the reasoning and the. It's like the law has been stacked up so high that they forget the reason you make law. Why do you make law? To protect people from being wrongly accused, to protect people from injustice, right? To be fair. That's why you make the law, to be fair among living with each other, to be fair. And because there's so much laws that just law after just stacking it up, and it's just like there's no more reasoning. And I think that's the problem, because there's no way to have a clear-cut answer anymore. It's like if a kid steals a cookie, right? He's caught red-handed. You see a video of him taking the cookie out, and it's clear-cut. He took the cookie and stuff. But there's always going to be someone out there who's going to say something to say he didn't do it. You know what I mean? Like, even if it's clear cut, they're going to find something to do it, to say, oh, he usually don't do that. He don't usually take the cookie, but maybe someone told him to take the cookie. And you see on camera he's eating it, right? So it's like clear cut, but there's always someone who just says, no, but there's something more. No, there is no more. That is it. He took the cookie and he eats it. No one's telling him to take the cookie. There's no more straight path to figuring out the puzzle. People are just, no matter what it is that happened and that is reasonable to judge it, there's always someone out there to criticize it, to find another angle, right? And hey, that's fine, that's great, because then you have a lot of angle. But the straight path is usually the one that is just obvious. It's likely the correct answer. But people say, no. All I'm saying is, when you judge someone, when you judge the situation, okay, they could be bad, they could be good, they could be whatever, but in that moment, in that situation, that's what it is. That's what happened, right? So, let me tell you who did it, right? In my opinion, in my theory, in my reasoning. And I'm not going to go through any witnesses. Like, I'm not going to bother with all these crazy witnesses. Okay, the witnesses, it's right there. It's all on record kind of thing. So I'm going to try to explain it and tell you how it happened and how it likely went down, and hopefully you can see that everything fit. So you need everything to fit, right? Because that's how you solve a puzzle. And doesn't fit, it's not correct, right? So let's start on this date, the October 31st, 2005. Teresa arrived at Steven's place to take some pictures of a car or a van that his sister was selling. So she's there around 2:30. She went there, took some picture, and then she left. So we're gonna go with the cell phone call, when it ended. So it looked like it ended at around 2:42. She leaves the place. She leaves the junkyard, and I think she would head this way going down. That's just a guess. And so outside there's a policeman waiting for her. He pulls her over, and he probably said something like either her headlight was broken, right? And you might be saying, how do you know the headlight wasn't broken after? Is because if you look at the back of the trunk, you can see that there was a headlight, not a headlight but a side light, whatever, and you can see that it looked like maybe she bought a new one and she was gonna repair it soon. Doesn't matter. He could have pulled her over and said something, and likely his reasoning could be that she could be thinking that, and he's also probably saying, "Follow me. I need to talk to you about Steven, but I don't want to talk to you about him here. I need to ask some question. If you saw anything in his place." So, you know, he's a cop. She's not gonna question so much because she would trust him, right? And so he leads her to a certain section, and I believe, and this is just a guess, and I think he would go, this way, and he would go in there somewhere, and he would, I think, pretend to kind of tell her, "Listen, we have some stuff on Steven, and he is doing something very bad," or something to try and make her think that she can help the police in some way. So I think that's how she got lower into this section. And then some of you might be saying, okay, but how do you know the cop or what? Well, if you're being sued by Steve, and what would you do? And you know he might win. you wanna keep an eye on him. You wanna know everything he does, every move he makes, so that you can find something to pin him on, right? So for the cop to know where when Teresa was going to be there is pretty reasonable. There's a good chance they know. And so this cop pull her into this section right here, because the reason I say here is because there's bone fragment her body seems to be burned there. So I think he could have mentioned about the headlight, and she would go and say, oh yeah, I'm gonna fix it, I have it at the back. Likely could have opened the door as trying to show the police. And likely, that's just a scenario I'm thinking. And of course, there's his chance to shoot her in the head, either at the back, at the side, who knows, right? And you might be saying, but wouldn't someone hear a gunshot? There's also hunting area where likely people hear gunshot all the time, maybe, right? So that's not unreasonable to think it could be like that. It could happen in the middle of the day. So that's what I think happened. And then this officer decides to, likely trying to hide her car in the bushes somewhere, and then put her body inside the car in the back, right? Shuts the door, locks everything, right? And then drives back to the station thinking, okay, if Steven got out because of DNA is gonna put him back inside, right? So what does he do? Goes, finds the blood that was still around in 1995 or whenever they got the blood from, and went back, right? Went back either, I'm thinking at nighttime, and that's likely when he takes her body and went down and dig a hole or something, the pit, and started using gasoline or something, burns the body. Likely went back to the car and started putting Steven's blood in certain area, making sure also to clean everything first before. And likely at this time, I don't know what to think about the key. If this is a second spare key, or if this is the main key she's using, likely he probably don't want to carry too much of her key. Probably just took it out and throw the other keys away and just needs the key for the car. And so when he did that, closed all the door, locks it so that no one goes in and mess up what he just did. And so he leaves that night. He leaves, goes home. I think his idea was to leave it there, right? To leave it because it's pretty close to Steven's house. On the 3rd, Teresa is reported missing around 5 o'clock. Someone called to ask Sergeant Andrew to go check out Steven's place to see if there's anything connected to Teresa there, because likely they found out that she went there and a couple of locations. He likely went out there, but I think he also brought Lieutenant James, with him at that time. So we're talking about closer to, since it was 5 o'clock that was reported her missing, so the time is probably, they're leaving around 6 or whatever. So it's getting dark. So they went down there, and somewhere along the search, they found the Rav, the Toyota. And of course you can hear from one of the call, that the dispatch, that he's asking about the license plates, and because he wants to make sure, is this the car we're looking for? He doesn't know, he's not writing all these information on the paper yet, right? So he calls in just to double check if this is the right license plate, but I'm sure James is telling him, okay, we found it, this son of a bitch Steven did it because it's close to his house, right? And I'm sure he's trying to convince Andrew that, listen, we need to take this slowly, we need to be sure that we can nail this guy, right? And so that's why Andrew is kind of the way he's talking is like he doesn't want to let the dispatcher know that he found the vehicle, right? So I think they found it, they wanted to keep it a secret, but of course they have other plan, right? And so what happens next? Likely Andrew called a tow truck driver or something, right? Or went to get a tow truck himself, went back there and decides to go the back way, right? Taking the Toyota and driving it to the back section of Steven's junkyard. And so I think that's how that began, how the car was left there. I think these two officers are the one that planted the car there, because they want to make sure that Steven's, because what is better, because to convince people that he did it is because it's close to his property. But if it's even closer to his property, then it's even better. Like if there's evidence that's really close to his place on his property, then people is not going to question. For some crazy reason, this is what people are thinking, that if there's blood on your property, if there's something on your property, that you're guilty, right? So they're planning on that, right? So they're police officers, they know these things, and so that's what they did, and that's what they likely did, okay? And then of course there was a search party, and everyone's going out to search, and so people are not finding it. A day goes by and no one finds it. So he decides to, the two police officers, either one of them decided to put it out there where the car is. So who's better to find the car than the family member? Because if the police came, right, and find the car, then it could look a little suspicious, a little, could look more suspicious. So I am sure that one of them either found a way to get a message to the daughter, right? Because they don't want to give it to the mother, because Pamela, because it's easier to get the daughter. Probably, this is just a guess. That's what I would do. I think I would, because children are more easier to manipulate or kind of not question too much. So I think that's just reasoning, right? So I say the message was sent to the daughter somehow, and then the daughter tells the mother, saying, I think I know where it is, right? So the mother is excited. She wants to go there and check it herself. So obviously she came, she's prepared, she gets a camera, she knows there's a good chance this could be a lead, right? And she wants to be the one who discovers it, right? So she goes there, and likely they don't give exactly, but in that section at the back of the auto junkyard. And so she goes back there, and obviously she finds it, and there you go. That's like how Pamela finds it in 20 minutes while going in searching for it. And then of course that same day, a bunch of detectives, hundreds of people started to search all around on his property for more evidence, right? And of course they didn't find too much. And then what did he do? What happened? Hey, on the 8th, the two officers decide to go and help with the search in Steven's property, right? How nice. They're really nice people, right? Because they're not even supposed to be there, but they put themselves there because, well, they're good people. They have no motive. And what do you know? They found the car key, or spotted by by James. Right? Come on, people, okay? Are you starting to realize why? Why would someone go through so much trouble knowing they're not even supposed to be there, and they're risking some sort of punishment? I don't know. This is where I am unsure of how they brought the remains from the actual burning place to the fire pit, because on the 10th, right, they found human remain, right? So I don't know when they searched that. Who knows if they were being watched and because, right, it could fit a small box. They could have brought the box in because the police officer, and no one's going to question too many stuff, right? And so they could have dropped it somewhere around that time. They went here, dropped it in the pit, and because likely he saw there was I think this is likely the time he would think of doing this. He saw that there was a pit, like there's a fire, and it looked like it's just been burnt, right? Just been used. So it's sort of like, hey, let me just use this too, right? So I think it could be the next day, the 9th, right? They come back the next day. He digs a bunch of bones. He doesn't take everything. He takes enough that he needs, and so he goes back on the 9th, and he spread it. And then on the 10th, they find it. Makes logical sense. And of course, they just went more and more. They wanted this guy to be completely, just everything points to him. So they get his gun, right? Because one of the bones shows there's a bullet in the scar, kind of thing. So they get the gun. They have the gun, and now they need to make a story up. They need some sort of story, right? To use the gun. They need to show where she could have been shot and all that stuff in Steven's place, in his garage. Where else than in the garage, right? I don't know. So they take the gun, they shoot it, and they take that little pellet, and they go to where the car is, because they have Teresa's car, and likely her blood is still around, and it wasn't much. I don't think there was that much, but of course what they did is whatever they can. It was a tiny piece of bullet, so put it on there, and it was tiny enough, no problem, right? And so, yeah, can you see like how easily they could just plant things and just focus on the evidence? I'm not focusing on any blah 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 and any yakety yak, right? Just focusing on the motive and the reasoning. And if you do that, then I think it's pretty obvious who it is, right? The police department is about to could be bankrupt, or something's going to change that will dramatically, financially, right? And when it comes to money and power and all that, you're putting a person in a situation where they're gonna do something dramatic, like crazy, to try and get out of it, right? So you got all that. I don't know what else you want. Or what other motive? How strong of a motive do you need it to be for you to believe that even a police officer, he's a human being. These are human beings who puts on a suit, a badge, and say they are protecting you. They're not above the law. They're not better than you. They're here to protect you, right? That was the whole point of, I think, creating cops, to protect the innocent. But at the end of the day, they are still human being with human problem, human issue, and they solve it with human emotion too. They don't solve it with some special, unique ability that none of us can do. They solve it just like any of us can do. So if you can just realize and just understand, just be reasonable. These are human beings, right? So I really don't know what else to tell you, because Brendan confession is totally retarded. It's unbelievable that you can even consider anything after watching the video. But yet there's still some people saying, oh no, he was, even the judge, he knows what he's talking about. He wasn't coerced to say whatever he said. He has a mouth, he says he has a brain, he said what he said. Well, if you watch the tape, and it's like the judge didn't even watch the tape or something. I don't know what the deal is. I don't know if he missed that part, but you can, it's clear cut, yet you see what I mean? Someone will always find a way to say, oh, but there's no but. It's right there. It's a video. The sound is right there for you to hear. And time again, people decide to somehow find a way to to say no. There must be another reason. There's no other reason. You can't drag the past back. If you want to drag the past back, it's like all of us have done something in our lives that is not the greatest. It's not. We're teenagers. That's the teenager stage, and sometimes it carries on to the adult, right? And so what? So whatever you did 20 years ago, oh yeah, this is why you did this crime. That's insane. That is unfair judgment, right? So and there's no way Steven could have done this because he had so much to look forward to and collect that some girl came and just he couldn't help it, and then let me invite my niece or nephew to come in and join the party. It's like, seriously. And the story that he cuts her neck and cut her, like, I mean, they didn't use this because I think the prosecutor didn't use this because they realized it's so retarded and they, but I'm sure if they brought that in, those jury would still believe it. That's how crazy this world is that even people now, when they hear it, they're still, yeah, it's kind of crazy, but there's always this but. What's the but? What is there? It's a crazy story, right? And I just don't see any motive, any reason why Steven would do this. And there's no, in my mind, I cannot see it. It's not reasonable. That's the problem. People say, it's not reasonable, but there's no but. Okay, so that's what I hope you guys will just, I don't know, man. This world is insane. And obviously all the other evidence will probably fit. If you run through this theory, you see that just forget about all these other retardedness, like these gossip, and just focus on the evidence and the motive. And there's your answer. Okay? James is the one who did the killing. Andrew likely, he might have not known, like, this is the thing, this is why I think Andrew might have not realized, might have not been involved. He was just there to plant the car, and the key. James planted that too, but I don't know if at that moment he realized that James is the killer. But and the bullet is planted by the other detective who was questioning Brendan, because they just wanted to make it more juicy, because all these other facts are so evident and they need to prove that she was in the house and all that. So I think it was that those detectives that plants. And what I was trying to say is Andrew might not have realized that James was the killer, is because when he calls into the station to ask about the license plate, right? If he knew that she was killed by James, then he wouldn't have to call in, but he calls in. And then so I think, and another thing is, if he went and got a tow truck, right, to tow the car, then that means James wouldn't reveal that he found the key, right? He got the key, right? So there's that possibility that that he didn't know. But there's also another possibility that maybe James in somewhere there says, oh, I found the key, you know, somewhere over there, right? So it could be that, and then they drove the car there instead of towing. So either way you look at it, I don't see it can be any other person, like anyone else. I mean, it's too linked up, because he's almost about to sue them, he's almost about to win, and then this happened, right? There's no other logical explanation that I can see. Just look at the facts and look at the reasoning, and just pretend these people are just two party that is having a conflict. Forget that they're police officers. Forget that this person is a conflict between two human beings. These are human beings. They are not anything different than any of us. If you can just see that, instead of seeing, oh, he's a poor guy and this guy is a police officer or a doctor or a judge or a priest. Even priests does horrible things. Like, who, if they're a human being, they will do horrible things. They have the ability to do it, because we have the ability to think, to act on our action. And sometimes we do bad things, but we do bad things because we have a reason. There's always a reason. Even serial killer has reason. Their reason is they are addicted to killing. They get high, just like drug people. They're addicted to drugs. They take drugs because they're addicted to it. They like it, right? And now just look. Steven was charged with a crime, with a rape that he didn't do. And what did they do at the first time around? They manipulated the evidence so that he can be in jail. In this time, they went even further. They got caught for manipulating the evidence and putting him in jail, right? And this time around, they want to get it right. They've been doing it even worse than the first time. And you people can't see that. Why not? Why can't you see that? It's like they didn't change. Right? I mean, they're doing exactly the same thing that they did on the first time around. So, why can't you see that? Why? Are we all insane? Did we lose every common sense when, I don't know, when Sherlock Holmes died? I don't know how good he was, but it's like, what happened? Anyway, who knows? I don't. I could be totally wrong. I could be, something's wrong with me. Right? I just don't know anymore. But I just wanted to do this video to maybe get my theory across, and hopefully I don't really know anymore. I don't know if there's any hope that people could understand me anymore.